Peter, James, and John might as well just go back to being fishermen because that's all she wrote. To then having the boldness to go out and actually proclaim this message, ultimately to the level of persecution and hardship that they endure for the rest of their lives. Well, it's that their rabbi then shows up alive again. And so at minimum, I think what we can say is that this is a pretty drastic event that takes place in their life. It's a comparative to a 9/11 event for them. And so in terms of like the memory imprint that they are experiencing for the murder of their rabbi, of their teacher, and then something happening where they then go for the rest of their lives. The martyrdom stories are a little bit tricky in terms of their historical reliability. I think a few of them we can say did happen. A lot of them is kind of up in the air. But at minimum, they suffered persecution.
So the story in the Bible is that he was killed on the cross, murdered on the cross, and then he was put into a tomb. And then who saw him come out of the tomb?
So nobody physically sees him come out of the tomb, but the women go to the tomb in the morning and on the third day, and the tomb is empty. And so there are 4 accounts, right? And I think it's interesting also that we have 4 accounts that kind of give different angles on the stories. It's not as if they got together and they corroborated and all gave the same story. The fact is that we have 4 accounts that kind of capitalize on different angles, which the differentiation in detail, I think, actually gives credibility to the reliability of it. Because if they were all telling the same thing, you could argue that they got together and they colluded. They don't do that. In fact, they touch on different aspects of the story.
Are these people saying that they saw him walk out? Are they saying that they just saw it empty? What is the claims being made about his resurrection from these witnesses?
Yeah, so the tomb is empty.
The tomb is empty.
And so it's interesting, in one of the accounts, Mary's at the tomb, and she actually talks to Jesus, but she confuses him with a gardener. Now, I think it's interesting that she doesn't confuse the gardener with Jesus. She confuses Jesus with the gardener. Like, she thinks that this person she's talking to isn't Jesus. She doesn't recognize him at first. And she asks him, what happened? Why is the tomb opened? Where did the body go? And then there's also an account of an angel appearing and saying, why are you looking for the living among the dead? He's not here. He's risen. And then they go back to the disciples who are, hiding in this upper room. Mary says, I met Jesus. The tomb's empty. I've met Jesus. Jesus is not in the tomb. He's risen. And